Keiji, I'm
Great.
so happy to have you with us. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. And great. Okay. Anyway, my name is Keijiroh Yama-Guchi. I live in Pennsylvania, in the U.S. And I just want to share my experience about my thought on death. And I'd like to congratulate you because this is a subject very much for most people, and including myself, especially in the past, which was very much sort of taboo, and people have a fear and some kind of subject we want to avoid. So you certainly showed courage and strong will to face this phenomena which we cannot escape from. And we have to realize, life, and we are life, but life cannot exist without death. And the death cannot exist without life. It's just like a coin, front and back of the coin. And I'm not going to give any new lecture or talk, but I just want to share my experience, how I developed and my thought on death. So I don't think there is any new knowledge or enlightenment for you, but if I can give you some kind of stimulation for you to think on this important subject, I'd be happy. And at the end, you're certainly very welcome to give me any questions. And when we talk about death, we often have a lot of stories, myths, including resurrection, life after death, heaven and hell, soul, reincarnation, the book of death, and so on. And we also experience many sort of coincidences beyond this physical world. Everyone has some kind of strange and beyond sort of unusual phenomena, which can be explained more easily if we admit and agree with the existence of life beyond this earth, or soul, or spirit, or life after death. And one example is this talk I'm giving you. Actually, Ginat asked me on giving you this lecture back actually in January, which was only about a month or two after I was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. And I didn't tell that to many people. So I felt really strange. Somehow Ginat knew. That's why I thought she might have given me this opportunity. But anyway, that was just coincidence. But that's something, there must have been something working, something invisible thread connected between Ginat and I and my the lung cancer thing. And also I have some other unusual metaphysical phenomena and experience when my father passed away, when actually that is when I was flying over the Atlantic Ocean And if I have time later on, I can share that too. But all these metaphysical as well as unusual experience phenomena can be explained. It's still a hypothesis under quantum physics. There's a new study, and the hypothesis is called zero-point field. I don't know if you're familiar with it. I just started studying it, and I read only one or two books. But this is something very interesting I want to explore, and that is called zero-point field. But of course, this is hypothesis. I come back to about the death, physical death. I just want to share my experience of me and death. And when I was 13, I was still young, cute boy. And I thought of death for the first time. And I had a lot of fear. I was kind of depressed. And it was so serious to me for a young boy. I could not ask my parents, my friends, my teacher, or anyone. And after a few months, I was really thinking about it. I couldn't figure out. So with all my courage and strong will, I asked my class teacher, everyone dies. What is death? And he said, his answer was very good, but I wasn't happy then at all. He just said, oh, everyone dies. It's very true, but it didn't satisfy my question. And I was very curious. My sort of thinking of death started since then. And especially about a year ago when I was diagnosed with, especially until I was diagnosed with stage 4 the lung cancer, which is fairly serious. About 25% of people die within 6 months, and probably a single-digit percentage of people survive even more than 2 years. But since my diagnosis now almost a year, and it seems to be doing better. And when I was diagnosed, I was not sort of depressed. Maybe in my deep insight, at least in my consciousness, I was not depressed. Probably depressed underneath, but I was not aware of that. Certainly my people, my partner, Yuki, and my 2 children and my sister, they are more depressed. Not more depressed, but they are sort of depressed. They are quite negatively affected, and they are really concerned. And I was looking at them a little strange. Everyone dies, and it's just one sort of phenomena, I thought. And I was reading the other day, and I was trying to analyze why I was not so depressed, at least in my consciousness. And I found an interesting book, and it was talking about happiness. I also have read more than a few books on happiness. The first book impressed me about many years ago. I think the title was Meaning of Death by Alan Watts, which was very good. And the book I just recently read about happiness, this is better definition of happiness. And the reason is that if one is having happier life deeply happy, probably that person would not be so depressed by facing sort of death or the thought of death. And this man, I forgot the name of this book, but he is defining 4 things. One is, if you want to put it down, that might help you. One is sort of achievement or realization in your life. And also how much you have grown, not only, but especially sort of your mental, psychological side, how mature you have become, probably after many difficulties, and only difficulties really make you give you real growth, I think. So the number 1 is achievement, realization, and sort of, more growth, not physical growth like money and so on, but, mental growth. The number 2 is relationship and gratitude. The relationship, he's emphasizing not only your family members and friends, but also even someone you just walk across on the street while you are just walking to the station, or people you meet in the train or wherever, as well as sort of gratitude. Gratitude, not only those people around you, your parents and other friends, but gratitude beyond people to the universe. To be able to do that, I think it's important to realize we are from the infinite universe. Number 2 is sort of relationship and gratitude. And number 3 is sort of optimism and forward looking. Just not without being optimistic without reason is easy, but something more of attitude, forward looking, to be able to achieve that. I think you really need good confidence in yourself. And confidence, I think many people have self-confidence, but it could be very superficial. I'm talking about a more really deep-rooted self-confidence. So number 3 is sort of optimism, forward-looking. Number 4 is being independent, and you have your own, you are going on your life at your own pace without needing any need for approval from other people. Being independent is not only sort of financial independence. I'm talking more on less or fewer attachments, including someone or alcohol or drug, or even certain idea of including, in a sense, certain teaching, or some religion, or even including certain teaching of microbiotics. So number 4, being independent from or free from these things, and you have your own pace. Because we tend to become dependent on something, religion. And when I look at myself on microbiotics, I think I had it always the other side of your fear. certainly when I looked at myself, I think, fear of being sick. And to go away from that, to avoid that, I thought microbiotic was one answer to that. And I believe we really have to go beyond any fear. So the number 4 is independent, and you have your own pace. So these 4 definitions. And I want to add, if I may, a few other elements important to be happy and stronger and self-confident, so you can really face death. One is you have gone through certain difficulties. Difficulties, not enough food to life difficulty from your family, in your own life. And also you keep your own balanced lifestyle, including diet. And also beyond that, more spiritual life, seeking and experiencing infinite. I'm talking about not just knowing infinite, but experiencing sort of toward infinite. Knowing just only in your brain, but experience is really a different thing. You experience, you stand under that idea of infinite. And I just want to share what I did, and it helped me a lot, is that to experience infinite is that you just imagine what the infinite is, and also emptiness. Instead of thinking of what, and also you cannot avoid them, you cannot avoid what time is, okay? Time, space, infinite is, we are talking about space, but space cannot exist without time, if you think about it. And the practice I did to experience infinite is, I am in infinite. To my right, it's infinite. To my left, it's all infinite, right? So I'm in infinite. Distance between myself and to my right, is it 1/2 of infinite? And also my left-hand side, is it 1/2 of infinite? Or right, also infinite? Or the left-hand side, also infinite? I mean infinite. And it's a very simple question, but you really have to give a lot of imagination to really feel you are really infinite. And the second step is that if I move 1 foot to the right, the distance between myself and the end of this universe to the right, is it infinite minus 1 foot, or still infinite? My left-hand side, because I moved 1 foot to the right, is it infinite plus 1 foot? Or 1/2 of infinite plus 1 foot? Things like that. It looks a bit of waste, but to really know and experience infinite, rather than on how we learned in mathematics. In math, infinite is, the infinite symbol. It's very important to really imagine what infinite it like. Then eventually, I'm not totally into it yet, but I have a little faint experience of, yes, I am part, or I am certain way infinite also. And it took me for some years, but I think this practice really helped me. And there are many, many steps. I don't want to go too deep into it today, but certainly this kind of exercise just to yourself really, I hope would certainly help me and help you too. And if you're interested, I certainly more than happy to share that in the future. So realization, experiencing of not just knowing the infinite, but experiencing and sort of one with infinite universe gives you very deep confidence. And also another thing which helped me for self-confidence, deep self-confidence, it's not just me, but it's based on universe. It's also sort of universal confidence in a sense, not just my self-confidence. It's also meditation. I spent only 2 weeks. That is how long I could stay in Burma then 1980s. Military junta was very strict, and no foreigner could stay more than 2 weeks, even with someone there. There's invitation, and I was lucky to know Mr. Kitamura, who was United Nations representative in Burma, and I stayed in Sayadaw's temple in Burma, in Yangon, and for 2 weeks, from about 4 or 5 in the morning until at least until 7, 8 at night, and if I wanted, until 9, 10, 11 at night. All day meditation, but not only sitting, there's a walking meditation, which you walk very slowly and you just concentrate on what's going on. When you are sitting meditation, you concentrate on your breathing, but also walking from one end of meditation hall to the other. It's only about 20 meters, about 50 feet. It takes, 20, 30, 40 minutes from one end to the other. So you can see how slowly you go. So even you're just, suppose this is my right foot is on the floor, and you just feel your heel is going up, leaving your floor, and your midpoint, your sole, is leaving the floor, and you really feel your toes, and you have even from your small toe to the fourth toe, second toe, you are lifting. And then you are moving forward, very slowly. So you concentrate on what's going on very precisely and just do nothing but concentrate on from right, left. So that's why it took, I didn't have any watch, but easy 20, 30, 40 minutes, just walk 40 minutes, but you just concentrate on. And that gave me a sort of insight, just beyond myself and beyond me. And after 2 weeks, actually, I was almost, I wanted to shave my hair. Then I still have beautiful black hair, unlike a silver one today. But I still wanted to enjoy this chaotic life, so I didn't become a monk. But it was a great experience. So the practice of infinite and meditation, and also the third thing I just want to experience helped me was Tao Te Ching. Some of you have read. It's written by Lao Tzu. It was written about something like almost 500 years, 500 BC. So it's interesting. It's about the same time as when Buddhism was born. And he talks a lot about emptiness and infinite as well in his very, small, relatively small book. And it's just like a poetic, and it's very deep poet. And even at the beginning, I really did not understand, but I felt something, there must be something deep. And so I read the poems many times, and then you can go a little deeper. It's just like, in a sense, peeling an onion. You can find certain meaning, but you can have another sort of meaning. It's really beyond just a meaning. It's not something you can express, but something you can really experience, something one after another. So these three sort of practices and experience, the conclusion of me today is, as they say, being mindful, and just live here, live now. And we are not able to go back to the past. The future has not come. So there is nothing else we can do but concentrate on what we do. Live here and live now. And I've been practicing Chado, or the way of tea, or sometimes it's called tea ceremony, for the last 20 years or so. And I found tea is the kind of practicing of meditation. Meditation is not only in the meditation hall and sitting and doing nothing. You have to apply, you must be able to apply this living here now attitude in your daily life, when you cook, when you sit, when you drink, whenever. And tea is the first step for me to be able to apply this live here now attitude in our daily life. So all these practices, 3 or 4 I just mentioned, really increase the confidence and reduce the fear. And fear is in a sense, biggest enemy. But at the end of it, we have to embrace fear too. But something we have to be well aware of what fear I have. And certainly, diagnosis of cancer gave me gave me the answer what fear I had. And what is death? And there are many answers. But the answer really depends on how you define I. What I mean is, if you define I as sort of, let's say, small I within this skin and separated from the environment, physical death certainly comes. Then we want to think about, there must be, but our mind, our spirit, our consciousness must live on, even our physical death. And we created so many stories. But these stories, we have to be very careful. As I mentioned at the very beginning, reincarnations and the life, death experience and all kinds of things. But Israeli historian,
here's some information.
Yuval Harari, in his brief history of humankind, human beings became, Homo sapiens became dominant existence on this earth, just because we created and we can believe in stories. Stories are important, but also the other side of the coin is very, we have to be very careful of. And as I mentioned, even quantum physics, there's a hypothesis talking about the existence of this zero-point field, which has all the knowledge and experience in one so-called point field. It's a very good theory, and it can explain all kinds of metaphysical phenomena and so on. But again, it's a hypothesis, and it's one of stories. We have to be very careful. So it's important for me now to explore these stories, but also it's important, I'm well aware that I should not become dependent on any of those stories, and just interesting to study these stories, but we can do nothing, realize we can do nothing but live here now and enjoy our physical life. That's all we can do, and nothing beyond. That, I think it's, if there are any you want to ask or any comment, you are most welcome.
Anybody comment? What do you think of these ideas? I wonder if someone has to be rather close to death to begin to ponder these thoughts. For them to be real and for him.
I have a comment.
Mhm.
Please.
This is Kristen Ritz. I was thinking about when you were speaking about imagining infinity to the left and to the right. And it took me back to something. I can't recall if it was something written by Michio or by George Osawa now, but when you think about that and infinity above and below, then you realize that wherever you are in the center of the universe. And it's, I guess it's sort of a profound feeling when you realize that because infinity is infinite, we are always in the center.
Thank you. Yes, it
Do you
is.
feel that way?
Yes. Also, realization of I'm always in the center of the infinite, but also you are infinite too. Michio gave a spiritual seminar starting something in 1986, and I attended them, which was really excellent. And this imagining, thank you for sharing your experience too. But this imagining infinite is very good exercise. And also reading, I mentioned Tao Te Ching, really gave me a lot, I helped a lot. And also another thing helped me was so-called Zengo, Zen Buddhism, Zen, Zen, Go is words, Go. There are many Zen words which describes this again, infinite from all different angles. And they also helped me. And Zengo is like so-called koan, K-O-A-N. And also one book I can remember interesting was Zen Bones, Zen, what is the name of the book? Zen Bones, Zen Skin, no, Zen Bones, Zen something. A lot of small, a few sentences, but it's really an excellent book. Zen Bones, Zen something. You can probably Google.
There's one Zen flesh, Zen bones.
Oh, Zen Flesh, Zen Bones, yes. It's also, I highly recommend to understand this infinite sort of thinking. Yeah. Something beyond small I.
Because I have to wonder if there is such a thing as the center of the universe that I am.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe yes, maybe.
Yeah. Center of universe is everywhere, right? I'm center of the universe. Ginat and everyone here on Zoom, you are also in the center of the infinite universe, right? There are many centers. There are infinite number of centers. Therefore, center is also infinite. Infinite is also center everywhere. So it's not just a small I am the center, but you are center, but at the same time you are infinite. Everyone is in the center. And there are many people, there are so many infinite number of centers. Therefore, center is infinite. Infinity is center.
So back to the fear of death, Keiji.
Mm-hmm.
What can you say?
I think there are two fears. One is probably some kind of pain before death, right? That is something people are afraid of. Also, another is something you lose. I have accumulated $1 million. I have to lose all my bank account, my Porsche, my beautiful Gucci handbag, my wonderful families, and so on. The losing, not your understanding of life, but fear of losing physical things you have accumulated since you are born. These things, especially the second fear of losing things, is actually something very small. But to feel it small, we must grow. That's why experiencing, being able to imagine infinite is very important. If you become infinite, these $1 million and your Porsche car becomes infinitely small into almost zero. And talking about fear, if one has any kind of fear, losing your partner, losing your parents, losing your $1 million, losing my health, whatever. That makes you weak. And to overcome that, it's very important to really focus on this and find out what your fear is. It's the fear tend to be so big, we tend to place it somewhere under the carpet, and we don't want to see it. But it is very important to see the reality of fear you have. That is the first step, I think. And once you have fear, whether you are conscious of it or not conscious of it, it makes you sort of weak, and it doesn't make you go forward. I've seen since I became diagnosed with cancer, I've met some cancer patients, not only at the hospital, but some other places, cancer sort of helping sort of gatherings, meetings, and so on. And people with fear tend to be, I shouldn't say that. I should say people who can go beyond illness, including cancer, and happy life and go on life, have certainly less fear. Once you have fear, the fear can grow. And fear alone, without physical sickness, could kill you. And I have seen a particular cancer patient who was very depressed, more than he should have, I believe. And actually, he faced a lot of difficulties, physically, mentally, and he actually passed away a couple of months ago. But fear is something we should be really fear about. And again, fear is also the other side of attachment, right? And again, to go over that, this realization of infinite, beyond myself, realizing, being able to imagine the center is everywhere, the center is infinite, gives you really a big picture, big viewpoint. Then relatively the fear becomes smaller. Being able to realize, experiencing this infinite is also that you can have bigger view beyond just from me. There's a very interesting Zen words from Zengo. It might be in Zen Fresh and Zen Born book. You can see everything, right? You can see everything, including 10 million light year away star. But you cannot see your eyes. The reason I'm saying is that it's important. We tend to think we are seeing everything, but we are actually seeing only from my viewpoint. I don't know how successful I have, but trying to grow your viewpoint is make you to be able to feel more of infinite, and you can and the practice can give you bigger view. by experiencing infinite. I don't know if I'm explaining well, but this viewpoint is very important. It's growing your viewpoint is important to make, I think, relatively this kind of attachment, fear, and attachment smaller and smaller, so that you have less fear and less attachment.
How do you go about releasing attachments?
The first step is same as fear, but to really realize that attachment and fear is hand in hand, just one coin. And it is difficult to really realize what attachment I have. So the first step is to realize. The second is again realizing, making you to have a bigger view, realization, or trying to experience this infinite. To solve these things, fear, attachment, I come back to always this point, but trying to imagine or speck of experiencing this infinite. I'm the center of the universe, or I'm the infinite. Having a bigger view is really the essence.
You feel that you are free of fear?
I do have fear. And I said, trying to really look at the first step, as I said, finding the fears. Is important, and I'm trying to do that. And suppose there's someone who says, I have no fear. Probably most of the time, it may not be very true. Either the person is totally enlightened being, or sort of fake confidence, I think. Yeah. Someone beyond the human being. So I may not often when you have the other side of the coin is that when you really have certain fear, the person could say, I have no fear, right? So psychologically, you have to be careful. Sometimes human beings, we are so good at avoiding something we don't want to think about, or we don't want to see. Oh, I have a question, what made you ask me to talk about death? Because I remember I saw you probably 1999 or year 2000, probably 1999, I think.
No, I think 2000.
2000? Okay.
Exactly, 2000.
And it to me, it was out of blue. You asked me about, talking about death. And I found later afterwards that I didn't know I had been diagnosed only a month beforehand with lung cancer. So there must have been some kind of a link somewhere through
It's
the experience. So your center and my center sort of matched, I think.
yeah. So I have the same diagnosis, stage 4 breast cancer, metastasized to pleura and bones and liver. And also Sheldon passed away 2 years ago. So the question of death is very present for me.
Mm-hmm. But why didn't you ask someone else but me?
I think you and I connected and you told me about your diagnosis. And that's when I asked you.
No, I think it's afterward. No? Oh, okay. Right. Yeah, might be. Okay. All right. So my memory wasn't very good. Okay. So I told you about my lung cancer prognosis, diagnosis. Then
Yes.
you chose the subject title.
I had been looking at this subject already for several months on the forum. I had the forum first with 6 speakers, and I did an entire afternoon or section devoted to this subject, and then again, and then the subject for me is so relevant that now after you are going to switch to some cooking classes.
Yeah. Oh, and also I have to say, it's being involved with something creative is indirectly, but important to realize this infinite universe idea. Whatever creative, cooking is very creative activity. Pottery or writing poems, flower arrangement, whatever, being creative. Something creative is very important, very nourishing to develop, and being able to imagine infinite. That is what I found. So I'm trying to learn something new cooking every week, if not every month, from YouTube, and try to do something new recipe. And also, I've been just too busy. I stopped, but I started some pottery, and something creative is very important to help develop this right brain and realize infinite universe, I think.
Right. That's the balancing of one part of the brain with the other.
Right. Yeah.
And the same thing applies to the Buddhist 12 steps of origination. Yeah. And at the end of these 12 steps, that's what we deal with. We have the elderly years, and then we say, and then the passing.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. And yeah, thank you for sharing. I didn't realize being creative or being involved with creative activity is so important to develop balanced life, and also to realize or sort of experiencing to experience infinite universe. I think ladies do more. I don't want to be in any way sort of macrobiotic inequality, but more women tend to do some cooking. And it's very creative activity. That is one of the reasons why I sometimes think women live longer than men.
Claire has a question, Ginat.
Go ahead.
About this matter of attachment, you said it was linked to fear. Is it always linked to fear, and how much is linked to fear? And can attachment also be not linked to fear? That's my question.
So your question is if fear is always linked with attachment. Is that correct?
Where is that correct?
I didn't understand what you said. I'm sorry. Can you
Oh.
say that
Oh,
again?
okay. Is your question that fear is always linked with attachment,
Yes.
as well as attachment is always linked with fear?
Okay.
Is that what you're asking?
Yes, but
Oh.
can it also be that attachment is not linked to fear?
I'd rather say attachment creates fear.
It creates, but it's not the fear that makes that one gets attached, let's say.
Also, fear does create attachment.
Mm-hmm. Fear creates attachment.
Mm-hmm. That's why I said it's just like a coin, front and back of the coin.
A coin.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
You know, front and back of the coin, they're always together.
Mm-hmm.
And one cannot exist without the other.
Mm-hmm.
And we often don't want to face it. We hide them. We put it away in our closet or warehouse or under the carpet or in the pocket. But it's important to put them out and under the sun. Not easy, but one needs a lot of courage, strong will to be able to do that.
But are you mainly speaking of physical attachments?
No,
Because
any.
if you can be attached to someone, to a person,
Mm-hmm.
where does the fear come in so much? I can understand it with material matters,
Mm-hmm.
the fear, but I can understand it less.
Oh, I see. Well, certainly family member, it's easy. You are attached to your boyfriend, wonderful boyfriend or husband, and you're always afraid of losing him,
Mm-hmm.
correct? Not only he physically dies or go away, but but he could go away, or he might go to some other woman.
Mm-hmm.
So it comes with it. It just attachment creates fear there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I see what you mean. Mm. Thank you.
Yeah, that's why I think that is the very reason why Buddhist monks Catholic too, they don't get married. I don't know if it is right or wrong, but they do not want to create this attachment by having a partner and or children. It actually, family members create a big attachment.
Yeah, I see.
And everyone who has a kid knows, you are always, you love them, but you are always also sometimes afraid of if he gets lost or have an accident or gets, whatever, with a job, whatever. We always are concerned, we have fear there.
Yeah.
Clara, you have a question?
So I'm going back to the comments he made earlier. Your number 2 comment was relationships and gratitude to people in the universe. So that makes a fuller life to have relationships and gratitude. Yet the yin and the yang, having the relationship, as you just said, makes the fear of losing it, losing the, so can you have them both? Or you have to?
I just briefly said we should not discriminate fear.
Yeah.
We must also embrace fear. And when you embrace, it's not fear anymore. That's why it's important to really, the best way to tackle fear is really what your fear is. And we are so good at usually hide it or put it away somewhere, but really face it. And go face to face with the fear. Then it becomes not fear. It's a very good question, actually. Yeah. That again comes back to infinite. Infinite includes God. What's the opposite of God? Some Satan or heaven and hell. Infinite has everything. We don't discriminate hell or demon or Satan. That is dualistic way of viewing life, right? This is another big subject, but we have to go beyond dualistic view. We live in very much dualistic way of seeing things. As soon as I say Or if someone says, Ginat, you are beautiful, right? It always they suggesting in this world there's an ugly person. As soon as I say something tastes great, good, it already, I'm realizing there is something which does not taste good. So as long as we think in words, we are attached to this dualistic way of seeing world, heaven and hell, God and demon and so on. And again, this being able to imagine better idea of infinite universe gives better understanding beyond dualistic way of seeing things, which embraces everything, including God, demon, health, and all the dualistic way.
There's another topic that interests me of stories of people who have died and come back and what they've experienced. I wonder if you have any anything about that to say.
Yeah, I've read more than a few books on this death experience. They are always very similar in a sense. They are leaving the physical body and sort of, going through the light, and often seeing some friends, relatives who have passed away and so on. This can be actually, I didn't talk about it today, but it can be explained. I mentioned earlier on 0-point field under the idea of quantum physics. And that is another big subject, but that can explain beautifully. But it's again a story, This quantum theory, or even what we think of money or citizenship, US passport, we need visa to enter some other country and so on. Or even brand name is created, certain brand, I don't know, Gucci or whatever, has certain reputation. But they're all stories. And I come back to what I said about the written in The Brief History of Humankind by Yuval Harari. They're all stories. Okay. So we should explore them. But we also look at these stories with very cool eyes rather than believing easily in any of them. They are just like sand castle on the beach. And religion too. So we should not forget they are all nothing but stories too. We created, including religions. Macrobiotics too. So we can enjoy these all different kinds of stories, and you can choose, but also it's always very important to have a little, I don't know the expression is correct, have a grain of salt or a little doubt about it rather than believing totally and totally devote thought to yourself. You are the center of the universe, right? That's again, it's important to see your infinite universe and you are the center. Then you are realize those theories and government, religions, regulations, they are all nothing but stories below the infinite universe, only in dualistic plane. Are you there, Ginat?
Indeed.
Okay, great.
I wonder
yeah.
if we have more questions or comments.
Well, I do have just a comment that, Keiji talked about, things that we can do and being, creative, cooking, meditation, and all those things. But also, some people from the outside can really be helpful. People that are intuitive, that balance chakras and can see your energy. They can be extremely helpful in clearing things, balancing you. They can work with past lives that are preventing you from getting well, from feeling well. So there's a lot that can be said on people that can help you from the outside, various healers of all different kinds, whatever kind that might be. So, and that is really helpful to know that somebody can help you other than you trying to struggle yourself and trying to work everything out. So I just wanted to add that.
Yeah, no doubt. I've come through many and received help of some healers as well. And I think to go up the hill to try to achieve the sort of summit, I think there are many different paths, there are many different routes. And I think, in certain time, these spiritual healers and all kinds of helpers are really very important indeed too.
Yeah, for myself, I like to say that the whole notion of the storytelling that Keiji is talking about here is very big, and everything on the relative, or what we call the dualistic plane, has to do with beginning and ending. There's a beginning to the story, and there's an ending to the story. And so in every beginning, we are planning the ending equally. And every ending, we are planning the beginning. And so not to forget that at the end, yin is turning to yang, yang is turning to yin. And so our ending involves a beginning as well. So this is Keiji is doing a very big service of reminding us that we are dealing with storytelling. We are creating a story, and it's excellent for the balancing. And I also find the notion of everyone is the center of the universe very, very helpful. And because immediately, as soon as you start to meditate on that, you have a tendency to see the entirety of the universe as self, and without the relative self, without your small, what we call the microbiotic, rather than the macrobiotic. All of that very, 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 very happy making, as far as I can say.
Right. Yeah, very true. And that is having a bigger view. And if I may add something, realization of I am the center of the universe. Also realizing you and Peanut and everyone else, I have to realize everyone else is also the center of the universe. And when we think of infinite, I mentioned only one dimension, the space. But we also have to go the next dimension. That is the time. That is another exercise. We have to be able to imagine. It is more difficult. But sort of beginningless beginning and endless ending. Even today, astrophysics, they are talking about the beginning of the universe, right? Antimatter and so on. But that is another story. It's not quite correct that we must be able to imagine beginningless beginning ultimately, and also endless ending. As long as we are talking about beginning and ending, we are still in, as you just said, on dualistic plane. Thank you for the comment. And yeah.
Keiji, I'd like to go back to something that you said just recently. You were talking about faith. And here in Israel, there are many people who are very adamant in their faith, zealous, and try very hard, or perhaps succeed, at having complete faith with no questions and no room for doubt and no grain of salt.
Right. Well, it's creating a lot of political issues in your country right now too, especially in the last a year or so. So what is the question?
Right. The question is, for myself, I visited many of these people and spent time with them, and I found it difficult. After some period of time, I felt like I had a need for freedom, and they didn't. They had a need for clear direction. So I don't have a question.
Right.
Yeah, that was brilliant. Well done, Gina.
I got to the end without a question.
Well, at the end of it, right? We are here to enjoy playing physical world. So in this physical world, there are many things for us to see and experience. Some I do not like, some I like. But this is something we can play with. We are nothing but in a theater. Each one, I was born as Keijiroh Yama-Guchi and playing my role. Okay, you are playing Kinat and playing in this world. We are all playing in the theater, in a sense. Or even just like a movie film, we are acting in there. But that is nothing but illusion, right? On the screen, black and white, even on the TV screen, even when you look at Netflix or whatever, It's just nothing but black and white and red, yellow, and so on, just moving. But I am one of them. Each one is one of them. We really have to go see the screen and beyond that. I am here, right? Kind of true self, can be center, can be infinite. The light is shining, and there's a shadow of my fist. We often think of this shadow of my fist as I. And we don't look at this real fist. And I'm trying to work out this shadow fist. But where we should work on is not on the shadow. Because you can't change the shape of shadow. We really have to go back to the real you. And come back. Again, we are in this wonderful physical world. We can enjoy all kinds of wonderful meals, wonderful, tasty macrobiotic meals, the sunshine, full moon yesterday, I don't have Porsche car, but I can enjoy my Japanese car. My friends, we are here really to enjoy and play. But at the same time, we must realize there is some other world beyond. And what we can really do is explore these stories beyond ourselves. But day to day, we just live here now and explore stories sometimes. We can do nothing but live here now.
Mhm.
Could I just ask, is there anything that we should believe in, or should we believe in nothing?
Sorry, I couldn't hear you. Can you repeat?
Yeah, I'm just asking, given all of these stories, is there something we should believe in, or in fact, should we believe in nothing?
That's a very good question. We created all these stories, and also we believe it. That's why we could conquer this earth, and we human beings I'm talking about became dominant force or dominant being on this earth. So it's nothing good or bad. But again, as I said, it's just like sandcastle on the beach. We must at least realize that. And talking about, especially very strong one, it's like a money, right? Most of the money is cash, even a dollar bill. It probably costs only, I don't know, 5 or 10 cents to create it, but we believe it has value of $1. Or passport, citizenship, and so on. That is nothing but story. Capitalism, communism, all kind of theories, religions too. All stories, and we believe in them.
But the belief and the stories could give you strength when you feel like everything is falling apart.
Yes, but I don't know if it's correct strength or not. It's another matter.
What do you mean by correct? Like it's true or not true?
No, it doesn't matter if it's true or not. But it makes you to go wrong direction than seeking the infinite.
It's funny because as you were talking all the time, every time you said infinite, my mind said God, and I like that, the image that I have of God as infinite and bigger than me, just a lot bigger than me.
Okay. This is another big subject, but when we often think God is somewhere beyond me, correct? God is something somewhere above me, like a big father in white robe. You are separated from God.
Not necessarily. No. If
Right.
you have a
If that
relationship, if there's a relationship, then you're not necessarily separated.
But you are still looking at God as somewhere beyond you, correct? If what we call God created everything and still creating everything, including demon, including hell, correct? Including you too, then the God should be in you, in the hell, in the heaven, and everywhere. So you are God, right? Everywhere. In this stone, God there, the God you call. Different people have different definition of God, but often we think God is somewhere beyond me or somewhere separate. And also we think of God against demon, but I don't think that is quite correct definition of God.
Do we have anything more for the moment?
Well, I hope I did not exhaust you, but I hope I gave some stimulation to think. And yeah, I'd be happy if I give you a little stimulation.
Last chance cafe for any questions, comments. Keiji, we look forward to, if you have an opportunity to join us again for a tea ceremony.
Great.
That would be wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank
Probably next year in
you.
sort of winter time, it's a little quieter.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, with or spring. Yeah, that would be great.
All right then.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Keiji. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you very much, everyone. And what time is it in Israel now?
It's
Must be.
almost 7 p.m., just about.
Oh, okay, 7 p.m. Okay, here it's almost noon. So
Right.
hope you have enjoy the rest of the evening. And also, I know there are many people from different time zones, but enjoy the rest of today and beyond. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Keiji.